Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would like to acknowledge and congratulate you and all members on their electoral success. I would also like to acknowledge and sincerely thank all those people who have helped me to achieve the honour and privilege of being elected as the member for Bateman in this 39th Parliament of Western Australia. My supporters include family, friends, colleagues, congregation, associates and even strangers. But whilst they are too great in number to thank individually here and now as they deserve, I will be forever grateful to them and seek to express that personally when given the opportunity. I am honoured to be delivering the first inaugural speech for the seat of Bateman, especially given it is the state electorate that I am most passionate about representing. I would like to sincerely thank all the constituents who voted for me at the March 9th, 2013 general election, and by doing so entrusted me to best represent their interests, a responsibility that I am fully committed to. Given this is the first inaugural speech for Bateman, I wish to acknowledge past members. The seat of Murdoch was established in 1976 and won by Mr. Barry McKinnon a year later. Mr. McKinnon held the seat for 12 years, while serving as leader of the Parliamentary Liberal Party and leader of the opposition in Western Australia from 1986 to 1992. In the 1989 election, the electorate of Murdoch was largely replaced by the electorate of Jandakot, though this was effectively reversed at the 1996 election, where Mr. Mike Board was elected as the member for Murdoch. After Mr. Board retired in 2005, much-loved former football star Mr. Trevor Sprigg won the seat and served until his unexpected and tragic passing in 2008. At the 2008 by-election, Mr. Christian Porter was elected as the member for Murdoch and immediately became the Shadow Attorney-General. Some 6 months later at the 2008 general election, Mr. Porter won the newly created seat of Bateman, which largely replaced the former electorate of Murdoch. The Honourable Christian Porter resigned from the seat of Bateman in 2012 to seek pre-selection for the federal seat of Pearce. The electorate of Bateman is bound by the Canning River in the northeast, the suburbs of Bull Creek in the east, Murdoch in the south, and the business areas of Cardinia and Myaree in the west. The electorate also includes the whole suburbs of Bateman, Brentwood and Winthrop, as well as parts of Alfred Cove, Burragoon, Melville and Mount Pleasant. Historically, Bateman was the locale of the Noalimba Reception Centre situated at Mandala Crescent. Noalimba is the Aboriginal word meaning belonging to all, and the centre was built in 1968 to provide temporary accommodation to migrants, functioning in that capacity until the 1980s. Bateman continues to be a place for all, given approximately 40% of the 34,000 residents were born overseas, the majority of who come from the United Kingdom, Malaysia, China, Hong Kong, Singapore and Indonesia. This diversity also extends to the languages spoken. Approximately 1 in 4 Bateman residents speak a language other than English at home, with the prominent languages being Indonesian and the Chinese languages of Mandarin and Cantonese. The electorate was named after the Bateman family who arrived in the colony at Fremantle in 1830, shortly after which John Bateman built a store in Fremantle dealing in merchandise. His sons carried on the business in the family name. Now, over 180 years on, and Bateman continues its association with strong and vibrant business, led by the industries of healthcare and social assistance, education and training, and retail. Bateman businesses play a key role in supporting our West Australian economy and in keeping unemployment in the electorate lower than the state average. I am proud to represent an electorate that is leading the way in social infrastructure. At the heart of Bateman is the Murdoch Activity Centre, expected to become the largest employment node outside of the Perth CBD, with some 35,000 jobs. Already located in the Murdoch Activity Centre is Australia's largest university campus, the Murdoch University South Street campus, covering 2.2 square kilometres. It is home to over 18,000 students, including 3,000 international students from more than 100 countries. Murdoch University was ranked in the top 2% of world universities in 2012 and has firmly established its standing as one of our nation's leading universities. Adjacent to Murdoch University is Fiona Stanley Hospital, which following completion will be the largest medical complex in the Southern Hemisphere and will provide some of the most technologically advanced treatments in the world. As well as having what will be one of the best public hospitals in Australia, the Murdoch Activity Centre is also home to St John of God Murdoch Hospital. Last year, in 2012, an independent nationwide survey ranked St John of God Murdoch number 1 in patient satisfaction for large private hospitals in Australia. Bateman is blessed to be home to both public and private hospitals that are amongst the best in our nation. The electorate of Bateman is served well by the two busiest train stations on the Perth to Mandurah railway line, Bull Creek and Murdoch. In fact, Murdoch is the busiest suburban rail station in Western Australia with over 5,000 boardings each day, and that is prior to Fiona Stanley Hospital and the remainder of the activity centre becoming operational. Just outside, but running along Bateman's northern boundary, is Garden City Shopping Centre, which hosts a tremendous range of retailers. This shopping centre already boasts the best return per square metre of retail floor space in any West Australian shopping centre and is the fourth most productive in Australia. In 2013, Garden City will commence a doubling of its retail floor space. Having promoted Bateman electorate through acknowledgement of its history, vibrant business community, diverse general population and world-class public amenity, I now wish to commence representing the interests and concerns of Bateman constituents in this Parliament. During the election campaign, which included a whole-of-electorate postal survey, it was evidently clear that the general issue of greatest concern to the constituents of Bateman was fighting back against crime, hoons and antisocial behaviour in our local community. I pledge to do my best to ensure that the people of Bateman feel safe in their own homes and in their local neighbourhood. I will also fight to ensure that people who choose to be criminals are dealt with appropriately and in line with community expectation. Other current local concerns include issues of traffic and congestion around the electorate, a requirement for increased feeder bus services to the train stations, and more public transport with improved routes. The business community is also concerned with costs such as payroll tax and stamp duty. They are looking to government to reduce so-called red tape and the amount of time they are required to spend on non-income producing activities. There is also a clearly dominant single issue affecting both the businesses and the people of Bateman. That is the Roe Highway Stage 8 extension through to Stock Road, known as Roe 8. This vital piece of regional and local infrastructure will significantly improve freight and private vehicle movements, reduce congestion, and importantly facilitate critical southern access to the Murdoch Activity Centre. The constituents of Bateman overwhelmingly support the construction of Roe 8, and I will continue to strongly advocate for its timely completion. Having painted a picture of the Bateman electorate, I will now turn the brush to myself and provide some insight into who I am, what I have done, and what I hope to do. I would not be in this special place today without three special people. The first is my wife, Angela Taylor, a stunning and vibrant young lady who is highly intelligent, competent, and discerning. She is trustworthy and loyal, honest and fun, but most attractive to me is her compassion for others and devotion to those things she cares about. Wonderful attributes for a wife and mother, and especially important given my predicted absences from parenting. Angela was awarded a degree in zoology and then later a second degree in environmental science. We first met when she was interviewed for a job like mine at the Commonwealth Scientific and Industrial Research Organisation. We developed a strong friendship as we worked together from neighbouring offices and spoke socially and deeply over many a hot chocolate. A decadent excuse, really. That friendship developed into a relationship and then marriage. This trusted partnership provides me with the choice to dedicate so much of our time, to serving the community. Our marriage became a catalyst for life's most important commitment, to have children, and for my most important role in life, to be a father. I'd like to acknowledge my two sons, Noah, who is 4, and Jacob, who is 2. Whilst they have very different personalities, they are both amazing little men, and I am mesmerised by them. In fact, I crave them and could not possibly love them any more than I already do. To Noah and Jacob, I apologise now with all of my heart for future absences from special occasions and for not being there sometimes when you need me. I hope you too will develop the desire to serve your community, which in turn should at least make it a little easier to explain my obligatory absences. That said, I am and will remain resolutely protective of my family and the time we need to spend together. I will not abdicate my parental responsibilities just because external demands for my time are high. Rather, my intention will be to demonstrate a life-work balance which reflects my belief that strong families are the building blocks of vibrant, resilient and prosperous communities, and that strong families are absolutely dependent on committed and dedicated parents. In a world of evolution through generations, it is fair to say that the level of my success will depend upon the level of my children's success. The other two special people I would like to mention specifically and acknowledge and thank are my parents, to whom I owe so much. For without their support, nurturing and guidance, I would not be the person I am, nor would I be in this privileged position today. It is easy for me to understand who I am simply by knowing my parents and deducing a blend of traits. They have been the best parental role models I could have hoped for. My mother, Wendy Taylor, was born in Three Springs and attended the Dominican Ladies Convent School in Dongra, where her parents owned the general store. She came down to Perth to work initially as a mother care craft nurse and then most often in medical reception, as she continues to do. My mother is the most selfless person I know. Her desire to help others and her community knows no bounds. All of her life she has wanted to be a mother and she has put her family first, always. My mother's commitment to her early role as a primary parent in our house has been nothing short of amazing and inspirational. She is responsible for me inheriting the love of family, discipline and strong Christian values. These will serve me well in representing the conservative Bateman electorate, which according to the most recent ABS census data contains approximately 60% of residents expressing Christian religious affiliation. Of course, the benefits of expressing Christian values extend to the whole community and not just those people with a similar set of beliefs. My father, Trevor Taylor, was born in Cottesloe. When his family moved to Minginoo, he began to board at Christchurch Grammar School and later at Narrogin School of Agriculture. At an early age, he joined a shearing team in the north of Western Australia and eventually worked his way up through the wool industry in numerous executive roles with various companies, serving on state, federal and international wool organisations. My father is a big picture thinker and a brilliant and accomplished businessman. Throughout his career, he was respected for his achievements and earned a reputation for being honourable, trustworthy, loyal and having integrity. It is primarily through my father that I pride myself on those very same values, and it is through my father that I inherited a great appreciation for and belief in the ideologies promoted through the Liberal Party, such as entrepreneurship, individual freedoms, incentivising behaviour, market-based solutions and smaller, less intrusive governments. I grew up with my two brothers, Peter and Troy, in a 100-year-old house in East Fremantle. We were gifted the most amazing childhoods as we rode our bikes or walked the short distance down to the Swan River to play on the banks or cliff faces, to go swimming, fishing, skin diving for food, and later boating when capable. It seemed like our backyard was the whole town of East Fremantle, and we really loved it and made the most of it. While I was a young boy, our family had a small boat that we used for skiing and crabbing. Later we had a small ex-cray boat that we used to regularly take friends out fishing for herring and squid just outside the Fremantle Harbour and then back home to barbecue our catch and enjoy each other's company. We would also take the boat to Rottnest for our annual holiday, which to this day remains my favourite and most effective place to re-energise. It is also where Angela and I were married. Both of my mother's sisters married farmers in Moora and Mount Barker, and her best friend married a professional cray fisherman in Dongra. So all of our school holidays were spent on farms and deep sea fishing. We were so blessed by our childhood experiences, and they have helped to forge a real connection and intrinsic passion that I feel for non-metropolitan Western Australia. Not just the incredible landscapes and lifestyles, but the cultures and people. My parents sacrificed so much in order to give us three boys the best possible upbringing and start in life. They both worked full-time and extremely hard to pay for us to go through Christchurch Grammar School. We never seemed to have excess money, but we never went without. And most importantly, we felt security, certainty, trust and love. I've dedicated a significant portion of my inaugural speech to describe my family and upbringing because ultimately I am a hybrid reflection of my committed and dedicated parents. And my treasured life is a reflection and continuation of the life that my parents created for me growing up. Because we are an evolving civilization, the most important role we have in life is to be committed and dedicated parents, seeking to provide the best opportunities for our children and therefore society into the future. This mantra will drive much of what I seek to do as a Member of Parliament, and is why one of my focuses will be on protecting the rights and lifestyles of children and families and promoting the benefits of investing in children and our society, not just through committed and dedicated parenting, but also through education and health in particular. After schooling, I followed my brothers into commercial fishing. My first job was as a deckhand on a deep-sea scampi trawler based in Port Hedland, but fishing some 350 kilometres north around the beautiful Rolly Shoals. My next job was a little unexpected, as I was trying to get enthused about continuing an economics assignment at my parents' house before I settled on the excuse that I would visit my brother on a trawler he was refitting in Fremantle. A couple of hours later, I had accepted a job and began working immediately. Then less than 2 weeks later, I sailed on the prawn trawler Bootlegger up the west coast and across the north coast of Australia to commence the banana prawn season out of Weipa in far north Queensland. Mr. Speaker, can I have an extension? As an introverted thinker, I found the vast open ocean a wonderfully valuable experience, and I didn't mind at all not stepping foot on land for months. In fact, I wondered how I'd possibly sleep on a bed that didn't move. I gained enough sea time in order to obtain my skipper's ticket, but I knew that commercial fishing was not to be my career. After working on numerous prawn trawlers, sardine pisciners, tuna longliners and fish trawlers, I understood the opportunity, in fact the necessity, in aquaculture, so I decided to learn how to produce seafood. In addition to my own experiences, I knew that world stocks of seafood were declining, with many fisheries near or beyond thresholds for sustainability. I also knew the solution was to license the sustainable yield of a fishery and then meet the shortfall in demand through sustainable aquaculture production. In 1995, I completed the Certificate of Aquaculture at TAFE in Fremantle, which I must say was a fantastic facility to introduce people to aquaculture and then educate them to our highest standards of science and practice. After this one-year course, I was accepted into a Bachelor of Life Science, Aquaculture and Seafood Science at Curtin University. I became the first person in my family to study at university and enjoyed learning there because I was passionate about the subject. After being awarded my bachelor's degree, I commenced an honours degree in aquaculture. I chose an industry-suggested project that was a collaboration between Curtin University and the State Government's Aquaculture Development Unit in Fremantle. My thesis topic was a growth assessment of juvenile Haliotis lavigata fed enriched Ulva rigida. In simple terms, it was two-part research. The first was the use of a common macroalgae called sea lettuce to absorb nutrients of different concentrations in seawater, and by doing so increase the algae's protein content. The second part was then feeding the enriched algae to greenlip abalone and assessing whether an increased protein content of the algae resulted in a faster growth rate for the abalone. I selected this research because I'm fundamentally driven in life by the triple bottom line. That is, economic growth in a way that maximises benefits to society and minimises environmental impacts. I wanted to know whether you could use an algae to clean the wastewater from aquaculture and in doing so create a cheap food source that could increase production, which would in turn benefit the local economy and families. In 2000, I was awarded the only first-class honours for aquaculture in Western Australia which together with my business experience and skills secured me a dream job as a project coordinator in the Environmental Projects Office at CSIRO. The very first official function that I attended was coincidentally in the chapel at my old school to listen to the presentation by then Chief Scientist of Australia, Dr. Robin Batterham. Amongst an overwhelming volume of inspiring and intriguing messages that evening, there was one statement that will continue to frame and guide my professional life. Dr. Batterham said, "Science and innovation are the fuels of modern economies." Fortunately, I'm not forced to adopt a passion for science, innovation or business. They have all been hardwired into me. And just as they fuel modern economies, science and innovation fuel me also. I am constantly seeking more efficient and effective ways of doing things. Not long after joining CSIRO, I contacted the then WA Minister for Environment to ask what her number one issue was that CSIRO could assist with. The response was water reuse, so I organised a meeting with senior representatives from the 7 major stakeholder agencies, and we agreed to address water reuse in WA as a top priority. I facilitated that process, which led to WA's first state water reclamation strategy, and I co-chaired the first Western Australia Water Recycling Forum, which was held earlier in 2002 at the CSIRO Centre for Environment and Life Science. That same approach to the WA Minister for Environment was forwarded to the Department of Premier and Cabinet. And through this process, I negotiated on behalf of CSIRO the first strategic alliance agreement being signed between the CSIRO and the state government. I later joined the Business Development Unit and was part of a 3-person group tasked with creating, then directing, a national research flagship here in Western Australia based on the priority research needs of the key state government agencies and entities. It became known as Water for a Healthy Country and included research programs addressing Perth water futures, urban water management, water recycling and reuse, Avon Basin 2050, Wheatbelt deep drainage and farm water futures. This time proved to be the most enjoyable period of my career to date due to the inspirational people and science. I will forever be grateful to my mentors, Dr. Jeff Syme and Dr. Tom Hatton, who amongst other things taught me the joy of deflecting praise and recognition to those around me. Prior to leaving CSIRO and later as a sole trading consultant, I was contracted by the Armidale Redevelopment Authority as a project director for the Wollongong Urban Water Master Plan. Despite no prior knowledge of planning, I was responsible for initiating and facilitating a 3.5-year complex urban design process involving a team of more than 70 people from over 40 organisations, incorporating community, industry, and local, state and Commonwealth governments. Wollongong Urban Water Master Planning resulted in a uniquely comprehensive set of plans, documents and policies governing a 1,500 hectare greenfield site initially for 40,000 people in 16,000 households. Resulting from the collaborative planning process was a new place-based planning system for Western Australia, localised total water cycle management that sought to reduce scheme water use by 75%, 21 kilometres of park avenues for amenity, stormwater management and urban ecology, identification and preservation of Indigenous sites, an interconnected network of all open space and district solar orientation. The collaborative planning process I facilitated for the Wollongong Urban Water Master Plan was unique and encouraged experts and stakeholders to be open-minded about exploring opportunities and challenging traditional constraints in an attempt to discover the best option rather than implement historical standards. Individuals were asked to function both as a neutral member of the community as well as a supplier of relevant technical expertise. This meant that an urban designer, landscape architect, civil engineer, environmental consultant, hydrologist, transport planner, archaeologist, water engineer and myself worked together to make collaborative decisions regarding all aspects of Wollongong Urban Water Master Plan. This cross-discipline interaction, such as having an hydrologist assess transport planning or a civil engineer comment on landscape architecture, was the key to real innovation and an evolution in the practical knowledge of participants. Upon completion, the Wollongong Urban Water Master Plan won the Planning Institute of Australia WA Division 2007 President's Award for Planning Excellence and the 2007 Award for Environmental Planning or Conservation. Continuing as a sole trading consultant, I managed the sustainability consultancy for the Latitude 32 Industrial Zone. At 1,400 hectares, Latitude 32 was one of the largest industrial redevelopments in Australia. The consultancy was responsible for collaboratively setting the project's triple bottom line benchmarks and providing advice to the project team on sustainability issues, including natural ecosystems, resource extraction, infrastructure, transport, energy, water, built form, industrial ecology, eco-efficiency, industrial clustering, byproduct synergies, and resource efficiency. I then became a founding executive director of a professional services company established to provide business, industry, government, and the community with practical and sustainable solutions to climate change. Core services included policy development and analysis, risk assessment, climate change impact assessment and adaptation, greenhouse gas inventory and reduction, renewable energy design and evaluation, energy and water efficiency for settlements, eco-efficiency, sustainable production, and technical project management. I was responsible for setting up the company and then its general management and administration, in addition to continuing to provide technical project management services in the area of sustainable development, such as an advisor to Landcorp for its joint venture with Lendlease at Alkimos Beach. As a sustainable development consultant and working from home, I was able to spend a great deal of time with my two sons during their early developmental phases. This was incredibly important to me and a deliberate prioritisation. Throughout my career, I've been provided with fantastic opportunities that have allowed me to dedicate my professional life to directing large-scale, complex projects, programs and processes. This has developed high-level abilities that I believe will be valuable as a Member of Parliament. These skills include leadership, collaborative planning, relationship management, business development, strategic planning, negotiation, facilitation and investigation. Given my experience and areas of interest, I do enter this place with a desire to assist at a state level. I would like to be part of a team that develops a large-scale aquaculture industry here in Western Australia. I would like to help plan the predicted doubling of our state's population in the next 30 years, in a way that our children inherit a state with even better livability, lifestyle and standards of living. I would like to assist with state development, and not just the largest projects of state significance, but also with building and nurturing relationships, particularly amongst our trading partners and broad regional neighbours. And I would like to develop and promote science and innovation in Western Australia. I'm often asked why I want to become a Member of Parliament, and the simple answer is to solve problems, create opportunities and connect people. It is my intention to do this not just for the constituents of Bateman, but also more broadly for the state of Western Australia. Sure, there is a greater opportunity to earn money outside of politics, to have a better lifestyle outside of politics. And most important to me personally is that I could dedicate more time to being a better husband and father outside of politics. However, inside me, there has always been an inherent desire to serve the community, and being a Member of Parliament is where I believe I can effect the most positive change within my lifetime. I thank all members for the respect they have shown me through their attendance and attention on what is a very special occasion for an honoured new member of this Legislative Assembly. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you all.